Well, Canada's largest newspaper, the Toronto Star, wants to share with you an idea they have. The idea is Omar Khadr, convicted, confessed Al-Qaeda terrorist and murderer, should get the Order of Canada. Take a listen.
I'm not saying Omar Khadr should get the Order of Canada, though it's a thought. He's the young Canadian arrested in Afghanistan at 13 years ago, charged with war crimes after being in a firefight. He has wide support here.
Did you hear what Rick Salutin said? He didn't use the word Al-Qaeda or terrorist throughout the whole thing. He said that Omar Khadr was, quote, charged with war crimes, but that's not true. He was charged, but he also confessed to them and was convicted of them. Rick Salutin also says that Omar Khadr has wide support here in Canada. Show me a single poll outside of the media party that shows that he has wide support. You can't. Canadians hate terrorists and murderers, and only in a very small circle of insiders at the Toronto Star and CBC and the legal profession, I hate to admit, does Omar Khadr have wide support. You'll notice if you watch the whole clip, and I won't subject you to it, that Rick Salutin doesn't use other words also. He doesn't mention Christopher Speer, the U.S. Army medic murdered in cold blood by Omar Khadr, doesn't mention Christopher Speer's widow, Tabitha Speer, or his fatherless children, Taryn and Tanner. And it also doesn't mention, Salutin in the Star doesn't mention the details of Omar Khadr's confession. Let me show you paragraph 21 of Omar Khadr's detailed confession, a confession approved, by the way, by Omar Khadr's very zealous lawyers. This is what Omar Khadr said is the truth. If you see here in paragraph 21, he said he was specifically trained to attack Jews, to kill Jews, and that he believed that Jews should be killed. He's an anti-Semite, but not just a soft, passive Jew hater. He is trained and was on a mission to murder Jews. Isn't it odd that Rick Salutin, a Jew himself, would suggest Omar Khadr for an Order of Canada? Omar Khadr, who has never renounced Al-Qaeda, let alone anti-Semitism or the jihad. It's odd to me that the Toronto Star, by circulation, the largest newspaper in Canada, in the most Jewish city in Canada, 200,000 Jews here, feels so casual about normalizing an anti-Semitic Muslim Nazi who has no compunction or regret about what he did. Would they do this feminist newspaper, would they do this about Paul Bernardo, the rapist and murderer? Of course not, but they feel comfortable normalizing an anti-Semitic terrorist and murderer. Hannah Arendt, after the Second World War and the Holocaust, talked about the banality of evil. She said that if you looked at how the Nazis conducted themselves, they didn't look like gangsters in the most part. They were very bland and bureaucratic with memos, oftentimes wearing business suits, not just the uniforms of the SS. This calm normalization of evil is happening again. Anti-Semitism is now normal. Boycott and divest Israel, the delegitimization of Israel is now considered normal. We see even the terrorist attacks on Charlie Hebdo. You see so-called free speech activists opposing giving Charlie Hebdo a free speech award, even though they were murdered, actually siding with the murderers. What is it about a liberal paper like the Toronto Star and a liberal Jew like Rick Salutin or other liberal Jews like Judy Rebick praising Omar Khadr? Judy Rebick actually compared him at one point to Nelson Mandela. How could people who would be first in line to be murdered by Al-Qaeda support Al-Qaeda, call them victims, and actually muse about them winning the Order of Canada? Well, the Nazis had a phrase in German, Selbsthass, self-hate. And it was an argument, they said, look at those Jews. They hate themselves. They detest themselves. Isn't that the ultimate proof that we should detest them as well? If you're so disgusted by who you are, can't we be disgusted with you? It was a Nazi way of saying even the Jews know they're grotesque and should be annihilated. I think that what we have here in the personage of Rick Salutin is a white, male, heterosexual, Jewish liberal in the heart of Western civilization who hates all those things about himself. He surely would, if he was talking about anyone else, talk about white privilege and heterosexist privilege and Western privilege and the privilege of the 1%. And we see him here praising a war criminal, but not even acknowledging he is that. What we see here is that same self-hatred of all of Western civilization. We see this self-hatred seeping through our universities, through our media. It's not infecting everyone, but it's infecting too many people in our establishment. If we do not even have the self-respect to stand up to a convicted, confessed terrorist murderer, not only will we not defend ourselves, but to the terrorists we prove that indeed we are worth killing. For TheRebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant.